Hello, my creative peeps, and welcome back for another video. Today, I have a journal with me for you. I feel like I think it's been like months since I've posted a journal with me for you guys, so it feels good to be back. After all, the planning content and kind of the different journals and things, videos about things I'm using for the year and supply reviews, and yeah, so I hope you enjoy. Today I am working in my creative journal, which is where I do most of my visual type memory keeping. I was putting in the beginning a need more coffee sticker because I found it while I was looking for another sticker, and I was like, this pretty much sums up my February. I feel like I just always need more caffeine. I try not to consume too much. I have like 1 cup of coffee and then a couple cups of tea throughout the day, but sometimes you need that extra cup, man. So what I'm working on now is a page about books I've read so far this year. And I actually didn't read many books last year, so it feels really good to be kind of back in that routine again. I'm really trying to make time for it while I have coffee first thing in the morning, and then it's kind of the last thing I do before I go to bed. I'm trying to get away from watching videos during those times, which used to be what I would do instead, and it's definitely having a positive impact on my mental state and productivity, I think. So there's that. I read about a bajillion books all at the same time. So there's that, but I did finish 3 so far. 2 of them were on Kindle, actually. I am somebody who really enjoys the feeling of a physical book. I much prefer to read like actual paper, but I have found that reading like Kindle versions on my phone, especially at night before I go to bed, is really the only way I can kind of squeeze that reading time in. Reading before bed is it's something a lot of people do, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm sure we all know, like, helps you fall asleep and things. It also just kind of, as long as I'm reading something positive and easily digestible, it just kind of clears my mind before I go to bed. But Chris and I go to sleep at the same time, and we have to get up crazy early in the morning. And he has a hard time falling asleep, so I can't just sit there with a light on and read like a physical book, which is where the Kindle version on my phone comes in handy. And then sometimes in the morning I'm too lazy to go find, my paperback copy, but I always have my phone with me. So that's been really fun to do that. So if you're having a hard time incorporating reading, maybe, download the Kindle app on your phone. It's free, and pick a book. You can change like the font size and stuff. So if you have a hard time seeing, you can totally get around that. And it's an easy way to squeeze more reading in. Less excuses. Helps you have less excuses. So next I'm working on this page here. I'm, as many of you know, or might have heard me mention before, I'm working on trying to be less aversive to certain colors. The last couple of years I worked really hard to try and incorporate more pink into my work, which previously was a color that I avoided at all cost. And I feel like I've done that pretty successfully. So now I'm kind of working on red as the next color that I'm kind of changing my views about. So this was kind of working on that. So I have that strawberry paper tip in, which I'll do something behind, I'm sure. And then I'm working on blacking out this image here. This is the image by James Luke Burke. I had received, I don't remember, somehow I got my hands on a little like journal of his that was full of a bunch of his drawings. So I pulled one of the pages out, glued it on here, and I'm just kind of carving out with some black acrylic ink this girl here. And I do have to say, this black acrylic ink is amazing. It is so opaque. I was worried I was going to have to do multiple layers, especially since that page had like a weird finish to it, but nope. Covered the whole thing, absolutely no issue, even with a thin coat. So that was actually the supply that I reviewed in January, in case you guys would like to check that out, the acrylic ink review. I'll leave it in a card up above for you to check out. But next is a page that I was very inspired to share with you today, and one that I wanted to talk about. So journaling is, I mean, you can journal for a million different things, right? But I much prefer to visually journal rather than write. While I do enjoy, written journaling, sometimes I really enjoy stream of consciousness journaling. It's not really anything that I want to keep or have read. I much prefer doing kind of this creative journaling style with a mix of things from my everyday and images that speak to me and so on and so forth, to really capture what is going on in my life. And one of the things that I wanted to do this year was capture more of the everyday nuances or the different experiences I was going through that didn't necessarily have, like, a photo of an event that happened, which was something that I was very focused on last year, and I think even the year before, just like only documenting things that had photos to go with it, if that makes any sense. So I decided to do this page. One of the themes that's really coming up for me, especially this year so far, is this emotional roller coaster of the process of building a house. And it's a lot to work through. It's super exciting. Don't get me wrong. It's a positive experience for sure. I know everything's going to work out, but it's very like 1 minute you're super excited. Everything's going like freaking amazing. And then the next minute you get a call from, the bank, and they're like, you need this type of paperwork, or there's this problem. And so at this point, we're still just trying to close on a loan. Anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about the mess, but my point was I wanted a way to capture this in my journal, these extreme highs and extreme lows and everything in between, this like day-to-day up and down, like I said, emotional roller coaster that is this, goal that we're working towards, Chris and I. And I didn't want to just complain about it, which was my first inclination. I was going to pick up my pen and my personal journal, and I was going to whinge about all of the things because on this particular day, things were not going the way that we had hoped they would. And I was like, I didn't want that to be the only representation of this experience. Like I said, I don't want it to just be whingy. I wanted to capture somehow all of the ups and downs of it. So all that to be said, I decided to do this representation of an emotional roller coaster with this crazy, I don't even know what to call it, all these like squiggly lines. I chose a couple of memes that kind of matched the emotions that I wanted to represent, the highs and the lows. For those of you that don't know, you may have saw them when I was cutting them out in the beginning of the video. Though they're screenshots from the show called Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and they are of Charlie, the character. And so one of them is of him. He's losing his mind, uncovering this, what he thinks is a crazy conspiracy in the mailroom of this workplace that he's only worked there for 3 days, but he's been up. He's got one of those like serial killer map walls, and he's just absolutely losing his mind, which I was very fitting for how I felt on the particular day that I made this. And then there was another picture of him, and he's just like super psyched, like, yeah, everything's amazing, hanging out, you know, just chilling and celebrating. And then the third one was kind of, in my opinion, the emotional like hangover result of all of that. And he's sitting in a park with his friends, and he's like, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna leave me alone, and I'm gonna sit here and drink this and just like chillax. And that, I feel like no matter which day, we're kind of, which part of the roller coaster I'm on, that's always a relatable item. So those were the 3 images that I chose, and I made this squiggly track, and I chose kind of a rainbow of colors and just tried to make a transition between all of the different things. I didn't really assign a particular emotion to a particular color. It was more, you know, symbolic. So I went through, I traced the kind of squiggly lines after I had done it in pencil. I traced it with a paint pen, erased my lines, and then kind of thickened everything up, which is what you're seeing me do now. You'll see some of them don't connect, so I tried to do that in places where I knew the photos would be, to kind of cover that up, because I wanted lots of different colors and loop-de-loops and things behind each of the photos. And then I went ahead and stuck it down. Like, see that one on the right? He's just like, everything's gonna be all right, guys. Like, this is great. And then the one on the top left, he's like, oh my God. So anyway, this is my crazy brain's way of representing this emotional roller coaster that I feel like I'm on. And not only did it serve as a representation, like a visual representation in my journal, but this whole process, it took me about an hour and a half. I could have done it in bits, but I did it all in one sitting because I was just in it. And I had on a YouTube channel in the background that's always quite positive. I've been really into the channels called Doodle Date recently. It's a couple, and they're so cute. They like draw together, and I don't really watch it per se for the content, while they do like really fun reviews and they have cute drawing styles and stuff. They make jokes, and they're always just, it's always a good time, and you know that when you turn it on, there is going to be a positive vibe there. So I often watch them during lunch. I'll leave them linked below if you want to check them out. But I just had that on in the background, and I was doing, you know, I did the pen work, the pink pen work first, and then I outlined the whole thing, and then I went in with colored pencils, and I colored pencils on top, and then I went in and traced it all again. And just the act of moving my hand and focusing on making this very simplistic but mentally and emotionally complex squiggles here, it just really helped me clear my head and get out of that negative focus that I had on the events that had recently transpired. It was just a very therapeutic experience. So whether any of the things that I have said in the past 10 minutes, by the way, if you're still here, kudos to you. Drop me drop me an emoji or let me know that you're still here. And if you followed the insanity that is my brain and me trying to explain this. But all that being said, even if what I was trying to communicate through this didn't make sense, the moral of the story is doing some type of work in your journal does to represent how you're feeling. It, even if it's not writing, can be very therapeutic, and sometimes more therapeutic than writing, because it kind of shifts those thoughts into a different perspective, and you're able to communicate or process those feelings in a way that your brain can't do verbally, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, I encourage you to give this technique a try, basically. What I'm doing here, like I said, I'm just adding colored pencils over the top. You'll see that swatch page I made with all the pencil lines. That's something I will use as a background in my overflow journal. I get asked all the time of what types of things that I put in my overflow journal, so that's kind of one of the things that will go in there. It's kind of like junk, but they're pretty swatches, so it'll be a fun background to add in there and do that. At this point, I kind of regretted using the Arteza paint markers instead of the Posca paint pens, just because the colored pencil doesn't go over the glossiness of it as well as it would have the matte Posca pens, but I wanted specific colors, so there's that. Also, if you have a suggestion for a colored pencil that matches the hot pink color of that paint pen, I would really appreciate it, because none of the pencils I had came close. All right, you guys, that is the end of today's journal with me. Here's what the whole thing looked like after I was all done. I hope that you found this inspirational or at least entertaining. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you would like a more real-time journal with me video, I'll be posting one tomorrow over on my Patreon. There's also a backlog of a bunch of things. Speaking of, thank you so much to my patrons for sponsoring today's video. They help make what I do over here possible while still paying my bills and feeding my dog Shadow. So I'm eternally grateful for them. I'm grateful for you for being here, because otherwise, what's the point? And with all that being said, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys again soon. Take care, guys. Bye!